The diamond ring on my finger caught the light as I reached for the champagne-flavored cake sample. That's when Tyler leaned across the marble table and whispered, "I need you to stay calm right now." My fork stopped midair. His face was stone. "Don't make a scene. Just sit here and finish the tasting." Then he stood up, buttoned his navy suit jacket, and walked straight out of the boutique bakery. The door chimed. The pastry chef's smile froze. Her assistant suddenly became very interested in arranging tiny sugar flowers. I sat there alone, fork trembling in my hand, staring at 3 uneaten cake samples and an empty chair. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it, expecting his name. It wasn't him. It was his sister. "This is about your inheritance. Don't embarrass him here." My blood went cold. Vanessa's text message glowed on my screen like a threat. Tyler's sister. The woman who'd magically reappeared in my life last spring after we'd lost touch for a decade. She'd found me on social media, suggested coffee, reminisced about our college days. We'd become close again. Or so I thought. Now her words burned. "This is about your inheritance. Don't embarrass him here." I typed back with shaking fingers. "What are you talking about?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, nothing. Silence. I looked around the empty tasting room. The floor-to-ceiling windows, the private space Tyler had specifically requested. This whole thing had been staged. He'd chosen this location. This time, even this moment. My grandmother's money. The inheritance I'd never discussed with his family. How did Vanessa know? How did any of them know? I grabbed my purse and left $400 worth of wedding cake sitting on the table. I drove home on autopilot, my mind racing faster than my car. Tyler didn't call, didn't text. Our apartment was empty when I arrived. His leather jacket was gone, his phone charger unplugged. I checked every room like a detective at a crime scene, looking for clues I didn't want to find. Then my phone chimed. A calendar notification. Family discussion. Tomorrow 6 p.m. Lawrence residence. I hadn't created this event. Tyler had added it to my calendar without asking me, without even telling me, like I was an employee being summoned to a mandatory meeting. The address was his parents' penthouse. The one with the doorman and the private elevator and the art collection worth more than most people's houses. No explanation. No context. Just an appointment I was apparently expected to keep. My hands started shaking so hard I had to put down my phone. That night, Tyler never came home. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation we'd ever had about money. I'd been careful. Deliberately vague. My grandmother left me some things, I'd said when the estate settled. He'd hugged me, said he was happy for me, never pushed for details. I'd thought that meant he didn't care about the money. Now I wondered if it meant he already knew. At 11:47 p.m., my phone lit up, a group text message. His mother, Diane Lawrence. "Lena, sweetheart, so excited for tomorrow evening. We simply adore you and can't wait to have a real family conversation. Sleep well, dear." 3 heart emojis. Then his father, Anthony. "Looking forward to seeing you, Lena." Then Vanessa. "Tomorrow will be perfect." Their warmth felt like plastic wrap, suffocating and fake. I couldn't sleep. At 2 in the morning, I opened my laptop and started searching through old messages with Vanessa, casual conversations, shopping trips, lunch dates. But now, reading them differently, I noticed things I'd missed. She'd asked about my work. Multiple times. Still at the nonprofit? Must be hard financially. She'd commented on my new car. Business must be good. When I'd mentioned taking time off work, she'd said, "Lucky you. Family money?" I'd laughed it off. Changed the subject, but she'd kept circling back. Then I found the smoking gun. A text from June. "Your grandmother's estate must have been so much work to settle. My aunt went through something similar last year." I'd never told her about the estate. Never mentioned my grandmother had died. Never said anything about settlements or paperwork. She'd known. The timeline suddenly became crystal clear. My inheritance finalized in February. Vanessa contacted me in March. Tyler proposed in April. I pulled up my bank statements and cloud storage accounts. 6 months ago, Vanessa had helped me organize files after I'd mentioned feeling overwhelmed by paperwork. "I'm great at this stuff," she'd said. "Let me help you set up a system." We'd spent an afternoon at a coffee shop, her laptop next to mine, creating folders and moving documents, tax returns, investment statements, estate paperwork. I'd trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was going to be my sister-in-law. Now I checked the sharing settings on those cloud folders. My stomach dropped. Every single document had been accessible to an email address I didn't recognize. Lawrence@lawrencecapitalgroup.com. Anthony Lawrence. Tyler's father. I clicked on the access history. Hundreds of views, downloads, timestamps showing someone had systematically gone through every file I'd uploaded. They'd been studying me, planning this. The proposal hadn't been romantic. It had been a business decision. The Lawrence penthouse looked like a magazine spread. Glass, steel, white furniture that nobody actually sat on. Diane opened the door wearing a cashmere sweater and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Lena, come in, darling." Tyler stood by the windows overlooking the city. He glanced at me, cowered. Anthony emerged from his study holding 2 glasses of wine. "We're so glad you could join us." Vanessa sat on the pristine white sofa, legs crossed, watching me like I was a specimen under glass. They'd arranged the furniture in a circle, 1 empty chair, for me. Everyone else already positioned. I felt like a defendant entering a courtroom. Diane gestured to the chair. "Sit, sweetheart, we have so much to discuss." I sat. The leather was cold. Anthony handed me wine I didn't want. "Shall we start with dinner first?" They were in no hurry. They thought they'd already won. Dinner was catered. 4 courses served by staff who appeared and vanished like ghosts. They asked about my week, my job at the nonprofit, whether I'd chosen bridesmaid dresses yet. Small talk that felt like a knife being sharpened slowly. Diane complimented my bracelet. Vanessa asked where I'd gotten my shoes. They were softening me up, making me feel included, wanted. Then, after dessert plates were cleared and coffee was poured, Anthony set down his cup. The room changed. "Lena, we need to discuss something important." He produced a leather portfolio from beside his chair. "Marriage is about partnership, building something together." He slid the portfolio across the glass coffee table. I opened it. Legal documents, dense text, financial terminology. This wasn't a prenuptial agreement. It was something worse. A postmarital asset consolidation framework. My inheritance would be integrated into the Lawrence family trust. Managed by their advisors, controlled by their board, protected by their attorneys. My grandmother's money would become their money. The room fell silent. They were watching me, waiting for my reaction. I looked at Tyler. He was staring at the contract, jaw tight, saying nothing. "Tyler?" My voice sounded small. "Can we talk about this alone?" He glanced at his father, then back at the papers. "It's standard practice, Lena, for families at this level. Families at this level. Not his family, our family, because my money had elevated me, made me worthy." I felt something crack inside my chest. This man had proposed to me on a beach. He'd cried when I said yes. He'd told me I was his everything. Now he sat 3 feet away, silent, while his family presented documents designed to absorb everything my grandmother had left me. He wasn't defending me. He wasn't questioning them. He was waiting for me to sign, expecting it, like there was never any other option. Diane leaned forward. Her voice was honey. Poison honey. "Lena, sweetheart, you have to understand. We already love you. We've already accepted you into this family. This just makes it official." She said it like she was offering me a gift. Like their acceptance was something I should be grateful for. Something worth paying for. "It protects you too," Vanessa added. "If anything ever happened to Tyler, you'd have the full support of the family trust." Anthony nodded slowly. "We take care of our own, Lena, always." Our own. That phrase landed like a threat. I could be one of them, or I could be outside, unprotected, alone. They'd built a golden cage and were inviting me in, expecting me to thank them for the bars, the warmth, the compliments, the darlings and sweethearts. All of it was performance. I was either an asset to acquire or a problem to eliminate. They'd already decided which. I closed the portfolio slowly. My hands were steady, my voice was calm, controlled. "This is a lot to process. I need to review it with my attorney before I can discuss specifics." The temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Anthony's smile tightened. "Of course, we want you to feel completely comfortable." But his eyes said something different. Diane touched my arm. "Take all the time you need, darling. We're family now. There's no pressure." Except there was. I could feel it pressing down on me like water at the bottom of the ocean. Tyler finally looked at me. Relief washed across his face. He thought I'd agreed. That reviewing with my attorney was just a formality before signing. I stood, smiled, thanked them for a lovely evening, kissed Tyler on the cheek like nothing had changed. Then I walked out of that penthouse knowing I'd burned those documents before I'd ever sign them. They'd set a trap. But I'd seen the teeth. At home, I tore my apartment apart looking for evidence. My laptop, my backup drives, the cloud accounts Vanessa had helped me organize. I found it within an hour, sharing permissions on every folder. That email address, alawrence@lawrencecapitalgroup.com. But there was more. Vanessa had asked me to forward her a document 3 months ago, something about a charity event. I'd sent it from my email. Now I checked the metadata. The file had been routed to 2 recipients, Vanessa and Anthony. She'd set up an automatic forward. Every document I'd shared with her had gone straight to Tyler's father. Tax returns, investment statements, estate distributions, account balances. They'd known everything. For months. I opened a new document and started building a timeline. February, inheritance finalized. March, Vanessa reached out. April, Tyler proposed. May, engagement party. June, Vanessa helped organize my files. July, first mention of family financial integration. August, the walkout. Every single step had been calculated, planned, executed. I sat on my bedroom floor surrounded by printed emails and bank statements, piecing together the full picture. Tyler didn't fall in love with me and then discover I had money. He'd known before he asked me out the first time. They all had. I thought about our relationship through this new lens. The expensive restaurants where he always insisted on paying. "Let me take care of you," he'd say. The weekend trips to resort towns, the way he'd encouraged me to quit my job. "You don't need the stress anymore. Enjoy your life." He'd been positioning me, making me dependent, comfortable, grateful. So when this moment came, when his family presented their terms, I'd be too invested to walk away. Too comfortable to fight, too afraid of losing everything we'd built. Except we'd built nothing. I'd been the construction project, a target, an acquisition. The man I'd imagined spending my life with had never existed. I'd been in love with a business strategy. The next morning, I called my attorney. Harold Brennan had handled my grandmother's estate with precision and discretion. He answered on the second ring. I told him everything. The walkout, the family meeting, the integration documents, the file sharing, the metadata trail. He was silent for exactly 4 seconds. Then, "Don't sign anything. Don't discuss anything with them. Come to my office at 9 tomorrow morning and bring everything you just mentioned." That afternoon, Harold introduced me to his colleague, Naomi Chen, forensic accountant. She specialized in financial coercion and fraud cases. I showed her the integration documents, the sharing permissions, the metadata trail, the timeline. She took notes in a leather journal, her pen moving rapidly. When I finished, she looked up. "This is textbook asset targeting. They researched you, positioned an insider, waited until you were emotionally committed, then struck." She paused. "The good news? They documented everything. That makes them arrogant. Arrogance creates evidence." 15. 2 weeks after the family meeting, I was scrolling through social media when my blood froze. Diane had posted a photo from that night. Tyler and me, sitting together in their living room. I looked uncomfortable. He looked confident. The caption, "Officially welcoming Lena to our family. So excited for what's ahead. Engaged family blessed." 400 likes, 63 comments. "Congratulations. Beautiful couple. So happy for you both." I hadn't approved this, hadn't consented, hadn't even known the photo existed. They'd announced our engagement publicly without asking me. Suddenly it was real. Public. Official. Canceling now would require explanations, questions, embarrassment for everyone, except they'd forced my hand, made private decisions public before I'd agreed to anything. Tyler texted an hour later. "Mom's excited. You look beautiful in that photo." He didn't ask if I was okay with it, didn't apologize for not checking first, just assumed. Again, Harold called that evening. "They're escalating. We move now." Naomi found the smoking gun buried in page 17 of the integration documents. The contract required me to disclose all assets within 20 days of signing. Every account. Every investment. Every property. But they'd drafted this contract using information obtained illegally through Vanessa's file sharing scheme. They'd presented it after making public engagement announcements without my consent. And they'd structured it to pressure me into immediate disclosure. Harold spread the documents across his conference table. "This is fraud in the inducement. They used illegally obtained financial information to create a contract designed to coerce you into further disclosure and asset consolidation. He pulled another folder from his briefcase. We have grounds for financial exploitation, breach of fiduciary duty, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He looked at me. This ends your relationship with Tyler. With all of them. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Tyler walking out of that bakery. I signed the authorization. I didn't cancel the wedding. That's what they expected. Drama, emotion, a breakdown. Instead, I delayed. Texted Tyler that work had gotten complicated. Pushed the venue date back 8 weeks. Blamed family issues on my side that needed resolving first. Diane called twice. Is everything all right, sweetheart? Her voice had edges now. The warmth was cracking. Vanessa stopped texting completely. Tyler kept asking about the integration documents. Have you had a chance to review them? Soon, I told him. Harold's been swamped. That was true. Harold and Naomi were building a case, collecting evidence, preparing affidavits, documenting the timeline, filing preliminary motions. Meanwhile, I played the role of compliant fiancé, attended family dinners, smiled at their questions, laughed at Anthony's jokes. Let them think I was slow-moving, not strategic. They wanted a lamb. I gave them sheep's clothing. Right until the moment they'd realize there were teeth underneath. In late September, Anthony called me directly. Not Tyler, his father. Lena, I think we started off wrong. Let me take you to lunch, just us. Clear the air. We met at an upscale steakhouse where senators ate. He ordered a bottle of wine that cost more than my monthly rent used to. Made conversation about art and travel and his favorite charity foundations. Then, between the appetizer and main course, he slid an envelope across the white tablecloth. Open it. Inside was a check. Certified, 7 figures, written out to me personally. Consider this a gesture of goodwill, Anthony said. We value you, Lena. We want you to know that. This was a bribe. A settlement offer before there was anything to settle. They knew I was angry. They didn't know I was planning war. What is this for? I asked quietly. Anthony smiled. Call it an early wedding present. No strings attached. I left the check on the table. I don't need presents, Anthony. I need honesty. His smile vanished like I'd flipped a switch. 4 days later, a process server walked into Anthony Lawrence's office at Lawrence Capital Group and handed him formal legal documents. Lawsuit filed. Superior Court. Claims for financial exploitation, breach of fiduciary duty, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Defendants, Anthony Lawrence, Diane Lawrence, and Vanessa Lawrence. Not Tyler. Not directly. But his name appeared 37 times in the supporting documentation. By 6 p.m., my phone was exploding. 15 missed calls from Tyler. 23 text messages. What did you do? Call me right now. This is insane. You're destroying everything. I didn't answer. Diane left a voicemail. Her voice shook with barely controlled rage. Lena, this is a terrible misunderstanding. We need to resolve this immediately. Call us. Vanessa sent one text. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I blocked all their numbers. Harold had been clear. Every conversation was discoverable. Every word could be used as evidence. Let the attorneys talk. Let the documents speak. Within a week, the Lawrence family's carefully constructed world began to fracture. 2 of Anthony's business partners quietly pulled out of a major development deal. Meetings were postponed. Contracts stalled. The family had built their reputation on discretion, control, and impeccable image. A lawsuit suggested chaos, weakness, risk. Their private wealth management firm started receiving questions from clients. Had they known about the alleged misconduct? Were other clients vulnerable? The family trust faced regulatory scrutiny. Harold told me Anthony's attorneys had reached out 3 times requesting settlement discussions. Each time, Harold had refused. They're panicking, he said. They thought you'd be too embarrassed to fight, too afraid of losing Tyler, too concerned about your reputation. He smiled grimly. They didn't realize you'd already lost Tyler the moment he walked out of that bakery. Everything after that was just paperwork. He was right. I wasn't fighting for a relationship. I was fighting for justice. And winning. Tyler showed up at my apartment at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost didn't answer the buzzer, but curiosity won. He looked destroyed, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt. Lena, please, we need to talk. I let him in. He stood in my living room like a stranger. I didn't know it would go this far, he said. His voice cracked. I thought you'd just sign the papers, that we'd integrate the finances and move on. Build a life together. There it was. The truth. Naked and ugly. You thought I'd just hand over my grandmother's money, I said quietly. You thought I wouldn't notice, wouldn't care, wouldn't fight back. He looked at the floor. My father said it was standard, that everyone does it, that you'd understand once we explained it properly. You walked out of that bakery, I said. You let your family pressure me. You stayed silent while they tried to take everything from me. I was scared, he whispered, of losing them. Not of losing me, them, his family, his money, his position. I pointed to the door. Get out. Settlement negotiations took 2 months. The Lawrences fought hard. Their attorneys claimed misunderstanding, overreaction, misinterpretation of intentions. Harold and Naomi responded with evidence, time-stamped file access logs, metadata trails, email forwards, the integration contract language, witness statements from 3 people who'd heard Diane discuss bringing new family wealth under proper management. Expert testimony about financial coercion tactics. By November, the Lawrences' attorneys realized they'd lose in court. Publicly, spectacularly. The settlement came together quickly after that. $8 million, $4 million paid personally by Anthony and Diane, $4 million from the Lawrence Family Trust. No admission of wrongdoing, but a comprehensive non-disparagement agreement that applied to them, not me. Confidential settlement terms. No public record. They'd wanted discretion, privacy, control. I gave it to them, for a price. The engagement dissolved quietly. Tyler sent one final text. I really did love you. I deleted it without responding. Some lies don't deserve acknowledgement. The social fallout was silent but devastating. The Lawrences stopped appearing at charity galas. Anthony resigned from 3 boards. Diane deleted all her social media accounts. Vanessa moved across the country to Seattle. The penthouse went on the market. They didn't disappear completely, but they shrank. Downsized, their visibility evaporated. People noticed. At fundraisers I still attended, I'd catch whispers. Did you hear about the Lawrences? Something happened with that engagement. I heard there was a lawsuit. Nobody asked me directly. I never explained. Never commented. Never clarified. The silence was more damaging than any statement I could make. It let imaginations run wild. Let people speculate. Fill gaps with assumptions probably worse than reality. The Lawrences had spent decades building their reputation on image and control. I destroyed it by simply refusing to participate in their script. They'd live with unanswered questions forever, bound by a settlement that prevented them from defending themselves. They'd built their own prison. I just locked the door. I left the city in January. Bought a cottage in a small coastal town 4 hours north. The kind of place where people didn't ask about your past or your money. Where coffee shops knew your order and bookstore owners recommended novels based on what you'd bought last month. I took a part-time position at the community center, teaching financial literacy to people rebuilding after divorce or bankruptcy. My inheritance sat in trusts and investments I managed remotely. I didn't need to touch it, didn't need to prove anything to anyone. In March I met someone at a weekend farmer's market. His name was Ben. He taught music at the local high school, drove a 15-year-old sedan, wore the same jacket every weekend. We talked about nothing important. Books, weather, the best hiking trails nearby. He didn't ask where I'd moved from, didn't care about my car, or my watch, or my grandmother's estate. We started seeing each other casually. Coffee, walks on the beach, dinner at the Thai place on Main Street. 7 months after leaving the city, Ben and I stood in a small real estate office, signing papers for a house we'd buy together. Nothing extravagant. A 2-bedroom craftsman with a porch and a garden that needed work. The realtor handed us keys and congratulated us. We drove to the house in Ben's old car, carried boxes inside, argued about where furniture should go, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. That evening, we sat on the front porch steps watching the sun set over the water. Ben's hand found mine. I thought about Tyler, about that penthouse, about leather portfolios and integration documents and certified checks left on tablecloths, about people who thought money was control, power, a weapon to bend others toward their will. They'd been wrong. Money wasn't control. It was freedom. Freedom to walk away, to rebuild, to choose differently, To say no without fear. The Lawrences had that freedom once. They'd lost it the moment they tried to take mine. I squeezed Ben's hand. He smiled. We went inside our new house, leaving the past exactly where it belonged. Behind me, silent. Defeated. Gone.